Hello friends, in this lecture we will discuss about social change in modern society, and we will cover sociological theories of social change. So before starting sociological theory, let us understand some basic concepts regarding change and social change. So let us start now. Change. Change is neutral. It can be positive or negative. Alteration of the present state, that is called change, and that is neutral. Positive, that means increase in some values or quantity, and negative means decrease, like that. And what is development? Let us see. It is a guided change, planned way of change, good for society. Positive aspects are associated. What is progress? Not value neutral, attaching value with direction. Development in a direction, the notion of direction is involved with progress. Now, concept of development. Put forwarded by capitalist countries after World War II. Change in economy, society was carried forward in many third world countries. So concept of development was basically by developed country for the third world, that means developing countries like India and other Asian countries and African countries. Note, development and progress have different meanings for socialist and capitalist form of society, depends on the type of ideology. Now, improvement approach of social change. It aims at improving the present method of program and process. For example, Green Revolution in India, an example of this is an example of this approach. Community development program, 5-year plan, Manrega, all are like improvement approach of social change, improving the situation. Now, transformational approach of social change. It aims at a drastic change in social structure, legal system, political system, etc. For example, land reforms, although it failed substantially, had aim of transformational change in land distribution system in India, cooperative farming, cooperative production, etc. Another is change as a fact and change as value. What it is? Let us see now. Change as a fact exists everywhere. It is inevitable, observable, and exists independent of the observer. Change as a value is related to socially accepted standards of desirability. For example, what is good, bad, right, wrong, proper, ethical, unethical, etc. Now let us see about degree and extent of change. Talcott Parsons, the prominent structural functionalist theorist, has divided social change in two types. Change in structure. It is a general, non-violent, gradual change in different institutions of society. Here the basic values remains intact. For example, India's scenario after liberalization, Sanskritization, Westernization. So it is all about change in structure. Second is structural change. It is a drastic and profound change, transforming the entire structure of the society. In case of structural change, the basic values of the society gets challenged. For example, communist revolutions in various parts of the world are instances of structural change. Let us see what Neil J. Schmelzer has said about. Structural strain is the root cause of change in society. It comes out of structural disharmony or incompatibility between different parts of society. So in India, we can see here a structural strain due to caste conflict. Now, sources of social change. On the basis of sources of change, we can divide change in two ways. Exogenous change, that means external factors are involved. It is also called as the heterogenetic change. It happens due to external factors, change from outside. For example, coming out of Islam and Westernizations are the prime source of exogenous change in India. Endogenous change. Internal Sanskritization and cultural renaissance in India are two prime sources of internal change. Yogendra Singh has used the term called orthogenetic change for it. We will study about Yogendra Singh in paper 2. Now, concept of directed change, what it is, let us see now. Concept of directed social change is based on the idea that society can be changed gradually using sociological knowledge. The field experience of directed social change is not very encouraging. Sometimes people take it negatively because they find the instrument of change as very alienating to them. For example, male birth control techniques was thoroughly rejected in India. Directed social change has to take also the other aspects such as socio-political, economic dimensions of any kind of social change. For example, without creating proper livelihood sources for the poor section of the population, birth control cannot be successful because poor parents believe that more children will bring more money. Now, let us see the concept of planned change. Planned change. Planned change is aimed at all-round change in social reality. It does not introduce change in isolation but in a holistic manner, because as long as socio-cultural and economic aspects of reality will not change, it will be difficult to bring any particular change in isolation. So it is talking about comprehensive holistic change. Now, let us see about theory of social evolution, one aspect of social change. Evolutionary theory of change, that is biological, it is basically related to biological term given by Charles Darwin, book Origin of Species. Herbert Spencer gave the term survival of the fittest. Basic ideas behind evolutionary theory is progress from simple to complex, and progress must be in definite stages toward the perfection. Evolution is a process of perfection. So here evolutionary theory of change is influenced by the biological change and focus is on perfection. So here there are two aspects or ideas behind evolutionary theory. First one is progress from simple to complex, and second, progress must be in definite stages toward the perfection. Now let us see the evolutionary theorists, that means classical theorists. They are based on the assumption that societies gradually change from simple beginnings to more complex form through definite stages. Be it as a linear, progressive, gradual and beneficial. So we have to remember these terms. Now, who are the major evolutionary theorists? First one was Auguste Comte. He has talked about laws of three stages. First one is theological stage. It was the stage of development of the human thought, not the human society. Religious ideas dominated social thought and the major institutions of society. The society had a militaristic nature. Priest and military men dominated this kind of society. Second is metaphysical stage. It was dominated by abstract ideas instead of religious ideas. Mathematics as a science emerged at this stage. Third one is positive stage. The knowledge and ideas based on positive science or scientific knowledge Positive science like physics, chemistry, biology, astronomy will dominate the social thinking. Society will be industrial in nature. Scientists, managers, lawyers, and other professionals will dominate this kind of society. So here August Comte has talked about three stages of social evolution. First one is theological stage, where religious thoughts will dominates, and metaphysical stage is the abstract change, and here abstract idea dominate rather than religious ideas, and mathematics as a science emerged historically at this stage. And positive stage, it's all about science like physics, chemistry, biology, astronomy, etc., and the society will be dominated by scientists, managers, doctors, lawyers, and other professionals. Now let us see about Herbert Spencer. He is also a classical evolutionary theorist. He is also called social evolutionist. Universal cosmic law is law of evolution. He has talked about it. He compared human society with human body, and his theory of social evolution is called the organic analogy. He viewed the society as an organism made of interconnected parts, the social institutions, and believed that, like an organism, societies are also characterized by progressive increase in size. This increase is either due to internal factors like population growth or due to external factors like migration, and results into an increase in differentiation and integration. Differentiation means an increase in different specialization and skills, and integration means integrations, organic linkages of different parts, different groups. He examined certain stages which the society in the course of their evolution passed. First one is simple society, herd or band, that means hunting and gathering type. Compound society, it was characterized by tribe and chiefdom. Second, doubly compound society, city, state and kingdom. Trebly compounded society, empire and modern nation state. What Hobhouse has said, let us see now. He replaced the term evolution with social development. He argues that advancement in human knowledge is the chief indicator of development and presents an evolutionary sequence of 5 stages. So here Hobhouse is focusing on advancement in human knowledge is the chief indicator of development, and Hobhouse has talked about 5 stages of social evolution, social change. First one is the stage of pre-literate society, hunting and gathering society. Second is the stage of literacy and proto-science, the beginning of early science, example of Babylon and China. Stage of reflective thought, people started reflecting on existing belief, tradition and institutions, example is Confucianism in China and Buddhism in India. Now stages of critical thought, fourth stage. The growth of logic and philosophy happened in this period. For example, Greek philosophy developed during this stage. Stage of Renaissance and Reformation in Europe is an example. Stage of modern science, from 16th century, modern thought regarding science, economic, politics developed. So it's all about Hobhouse perspective on social change. Now let us see the Emile Durkheim, what he has said. Already covered in Durkheim, we have already covered in Durkheim's chapter, so just to go through that. Now what Durkheim has, let us take some small gist on that. Durkheim views social change and evolution of society from mechanical solidarity to organic solidarity. This is a movement from mechanical and simple society to an organic and complex society. The increase in differentiation will eventually replace the mechanical solidarity with organic solidarity. Here he is talking about increase in populations and population density. Durkheim argued that the progress of society is always from mechanical solidarity to organic solidarity. Society with mechanical solidarity, what it is? According to Durkheim, mechanical solidarity is future of pre-industrial, agrarian, simple, traditional, small-scale society based on ascriptive values. Productivity is low, population is small, division of labor is low, less specializations in work, population is homogeneous in nature and its economic and social activities, position in the society is based on kinship, individualism is very low, we can say lowest, religion dominates the society. Solidarity is due to likeness of parts, collective conscience is very high in this society, law is repressive. Now society with organic solidarity. Organic solidarity is based on achievement values. Division of labor is high, specialization is high, decline of religious value and position in society is based on personal achievement, skills and talent. Collective conscience is very abstract and generalized in nature and its intensity is very low. Solidarity depends upon interdependence of parts and not the likeness of parts, as in case of mechanical solidarity. The authority of state is democratic in nature, law is restitutive. Why shifts from mechanical to organic solidarity? Durkheim said that increase in material volume, that means population, material density means population density and dynamic density, interaction between the people, society jumps from mechanical solidarity to organic solidarity. Now let us see what is all about neo-evolutionary theory of social change. Talcott Parsons already discussed in Parsons chapter, we have already covered in that. So although let us see now. Parsons built his theory based on model of biological theory of evolution. The fundamental principle of evolution is the capacity for adaptation. It's all about survival of the fittest, capacity for adaptation. This capacity depends upon the two basic processes, differentiation and integration, and change in culture. So this capacity for adaptation depends upon the two basic processes, differentiation and integration, and change in culture is very important for differentiation and integration. According to Parsons, cultural change accompanied by increasing differentiation is characterized by increasing generalization of cultural values, which then helps in greater integration. Applying this model, he identified 5 stages of evolution. So here Parsons is talking about value generalization. Value generalization will lead to the more integration of different parts. So applying this model, he identified 5 stages of evolution according to increasing level of differentiation and integration. First one is primitive society like Australian Aborigines. Second is archaic society like Mesopotamia. Third is historical society like China and India. Fourth is seedbed society like Greece. And stage 5 is modern society like US and Europe. Already we have covered in Talcott Parsons chapter in detail. So go through that lecture. He talks about evolutionary universals. If a civilization at lower evolutionary stage adopts certain evolutionary universal belonging to a higher stage, it can easily leap over one or more stages altogether. Example, Europe was at lower stage of evolution than India and China, but leapfrogged into modernity after Enlightenment and Renaissance. Now let us see the conflict theory of social change. Marx' idea of 4 stages of social change: primitive, ancient, feudal and capitalistic. It's all about conflict theory. So already we have covered this in under Marx chapter, so go through that. Now let us see what Dahrendorf has said. Dahrendorf says that social conflict is ubiquitous and hence social change is also ubiquitous. Every element in the society renders some contribution in this disintegration and change. Every society is based on coercion by few members, and this creates political conflict which leads to change. Now let us see the cyclical theory of social change. Petrim Sorokin on social change. Sorokin is often compared with Emile Durkheim and Durkheim's concept of social reality. He looked social reality as a socio-cultural system. He looked at the central meaning system of society. You have to remember this term, of the society or the principle around which the communities revolve. This central meaning system pervades all aspects of social life. It affects all components of culture, gives sense and significance to them. It also influences major institutions of society. So if some communities have the same central meaning system, they will have same kind of socio-cultural system. Sorokin used a general term denoting the central meaning system as Weltanschauung. That means mentality. So he argues that every society's socio-cultural system revolves around on Weltanschauung. Thus, every society has central meaning system that decide the mentality of the society. Weltanschauung pervades every socio-cultural system. All aspects of socio-cultural systems are called vehicles of Weltanschauung. For example, the art, religion, philosophy, ethics, law, family, etc. are the vehicles of Weltanschauung. Sorokin, on the basis of study of historical data of Europe, China, India and Arab culture, argued that there are two poles opposite of Weltanschauung and every society changes from one extreme pole to another. Thus society oscillates between two opposite poles. He said that there are three stages of Weltanschauung. W1, what is W1? It refers to sensate Weltanschauung. There are three stages of Weltanschauung. W2, ideational Weltanschauung. Extreme, these are two extreme poles. And W3 is idealist Weltanschauung. So let us see now what this term refers to. Sensate Weltanschauung, that means this one. It emphasizes on senses or sensory gratification. It focuses on freedom from control of senses. It emphasizes on material achievement, material pleasure, pleasure of gratification, sex, etc. For example, modern culture of India and West. Second, ideational Weltanschauung. It gives emphasis to suprasensory experience, that emphasis on inner freedom, control of senses, detachment from the worldly pleasures, spiritualism, philosophical detachment towards life are characteristics of ideational Weltanschauung. Now, idealist Weltanschauung. It carries forward both sensate and ideational aspects of Weltanschauung. According to Petrim Sorokin, prior to the Christ, the European society was dominated by sensate Weltanschauung. After Christ, up to 13th century, it was idealistic Weltanschauung. 13th to 18th century, it was ideational. 18th century to till now, it is shifting toward idealistic Weltanschauung. Petrim Sorokin theory is also called circular theory of social change or cyclical theory of social change. Sorokin has also given the theory of limit or concept of limit. He argued that a particular type of Weltanschauung takes a century to develop. Every Weltanschauung develops and then reaches a limit, after which it decays and progresses towards alternate wealth and song. This decay comes because of people losing faith in the prevalent institutions and vehicles of wealth and song, which influence their social reality. Thus, change is inevitable. That is why Petrim Sorokin theory is also called as the principle of immanent change. According to Sorokin, present societies are going through rich sunset culture. Then it will pass through idealistic and then ideational wealth and song. He termed modern society as an anarchy of sex, power and wealth concentrated in hands of few people. So according to Sorokin, modern society is an anarchy of sex, power and wealth concentrated in the hands of few people. Materialistic achievement has overshadowed the basic quality of human being. So this is the modern society what going through. Sorokin also argues that when the process of change will start, that is when the society will change from one Weltanschauung to another, a period of crisis would unfold, and in this period of crisis, people will polarize in two groups. One group will try to maintain the status quo. Sorokin looked at this entire process of change in a dialectical manner. It is dialectics that will change society from one form to another. Now let us see what Pareto has said on social change. Wilfred Pareto. Pareto, in his work Mind and Society, has divided the whole sociological system into two parts, elites and masses. Elites consist of both the governing and non-governing elites. Elites could be further divided into two groups, residues of combination and residues of group persistent. The first group is imaginative, innovative, entrepreneurial, has readiness to take risks, craves novelty and originality. Whereas the second group values prudence, cautiousness, traditionalism, safety and stability. The first rule by manipulation while the second by direct action. The first group is politically called Fox, economically called speculators, and they are non-idealists. The second group is politically called Lion, economically called rentiers, and they are idealists. When the first group is in power, a speedy change is seen in society. However, when people realize their demerit, they are replaced by lions. However, again in due course, people become dissatisfied due to the absence of any innovative or creativity in society, and this readies the ground for foxes to again come to power. The process keeps on going. And Pareto called this as the circulation of elites, which is the cause of social change. He thus claimed that history is the graveyard of aristocracy. Now, technological theories of social change, part of neo-evolutionary theories of social change. So, Leslie White, let us see what he has said about. He said that society is made up of three components. First is techno-economic, second is socio-structural, and third is ideological component. Among this, techno-economic component is the most important and influences the two other components. Application of more advanced technology leads to increase in per capita energy consumption, which leads to change in society. Here, American society has per capita energy consumption is much more than that of India, which has caused more advancement of American society. He identified the following stage of social evolution. Stage 1. Hunting and gathering society characterized by very low per capita energy consumption and very simple technology. Stage 2. Domestication of animals, animal energy plus human energy. Stage 3. The stage of inanimate source of energy, when wind and tides were used as source of energy. It was the time of exploration of world through sea routes. Stage 4. Stage of industrial revolution. In early phase of industrial revolution, steam as a prime source of energy for the revolution. In later phase of industrial revolution, it was hydrocarbon. Stage 5, atomic energy stage. So, according to Leslie White, energy and technology cause cultural change. Now, let us see what Ogburn had said. He has talked about cultural lag. So, what it is? Cultural lag comes out of the process where the material culture, physical assets, and non-material culture like cognitive aspect, traditional, belief, faith, etc. doesn't develop at the same pace. This concept is based on the notion of acceptance of invention and technology. Ogburn divided cultural aspects into two parts. Material aspects, it consists of material parts of culture like house, clothes, luxury item, etc. And second is non-material aspects. It takes into account language, values, custom, tradition, etc. Whenever a technology comes, adaptation happens at two levels, material and non-material. Non-material aspects of culture do not accept the change easily, very slow pace of change. Material aspects accept the change very fast and change accordingly. This lag between these two cultural aspects is called cultural lag. Ogburn explained how technology causes change. It causes change by giving alternative or increasing alternative. For every technology to be absorbed, there is need for reorganization of social structure. This reorganization of social structure creates dominoes effect. It triggers a chain reaction of change in other aspects of society. To explain cultural lag, Ogburn talked about 4 stages through which any new technology gets adopted in any society. Stage 1 is invention. Stage 2, accumulation. A number of technological inventions get accumulated. For example, mobile phone is accumulation of many technology. Stage 3, diffusion, spread of technology in society. Stage 4, social change. This is the stage in which the social structure will try to change according to technological adaptation. Here we can mention the example of mobile phones. Here stage 3 and 4 cause cultural lag. That means diffusion of technology and related to social change. Cause cultural lag. Now let us see what Thorstein Veblen has said. He has written the book The Theory of Leisure Class. Thorstein Veblen tries to show the role of technology in causing social change in very direct manner. Although he was a Marxist, he did not give prime importance to economic determinants. Rather, his thinking was based on technology determinism. According to him, social life is directly impacted by technology. He said that the evolution of technology at the end of Neolithic stage propelled the society from savagery to barbarism. At this stage, because of technological development, agricultural base became the prime economic activities. Technology also helped agriculture to provide more than enough food to population throughout the year without getting engaged in agricultural work all the time. This was also a stage when the private property developed for the first time. Those people who had more private property controlled the surplus generated by agricultural society. It gave rise to ownership class. Class consisted of people having substantial private property for surplus value generation. Veblen called this class as leisure class. This gave rise to conception of working whole day as a negative status. In Indian society, particularly in rural areas, we can directly witness that working whole day is like a negative status. Labor could be marked as a sign of inferiority. This gave rise to conspicuous consumption. Conspicuous consumption. When labor was regarded as inferior, some other acts were regarded as the domain of privileged person. Leisure time plus wealth gave rise to conspicuous consumptions to show status rather than to satisfy their basic needs. In industrial and post-industrial societies, leisure class is involved in conspicuous consumption. It causes cultural lag. As people are using advanced technology, but their mindset and way of behaving have not yet significantly changed with time, which gives rise to role conflict, violence in society. Now let us see the diffusion theory of social change. Diffusion theory of change locates the source of change outside the society. According to diffusionists, the process of change begins with culture. When the cultural context takes place, various possibilities may happen. For example, Western cultural contact with Indian culture. The cultural trait may be accepted in parts or in totality. The cultural traits may be accepted after modification, and the cultural traits may be rejected. The acceptance or rejection of cultural traits depends firstly on the intensity of contact. Thus, if there is the direct cultural contact leading to accumulation process, received cultural may be transformed to a great extent. Secondly, if the coming cultural traits are related to the peripheral aspects of the recipient's culture, then there is great chance of its acceptance. For example, how easily Indians have accepted Western jeans and pizza. But if it is related to the core values of the recipient culture, then it will face a lot of resistance. In fact, a change in core values of the recipient culture may even give rise to revivalist type of protest movement. Robert Redfield, in his studies of Mexican community, had developed the concept of great and little tradition to analyze social change and resulting due to diffusion. Milton Singer and Kim Marriott have tried to approve this model of study of social change in India. According to this approach, the social structure of civilization operates at two levels. First, that the folk or ordinary people, and second, that of the elite. The culture of folk comprise the little tradition, while that of elite comprise the great tradition. Now, while studying the process of social change through diffusion, the impact of diffusion should be analyzed at two levels. Yogendra Singh, we'll study about in paper 2, has attempted an analysis of social change in this manner. So we can example here diffusion like British rule India, coming of the British rule in India, and Islam also caused change. So we can see here the example of diffusion theory of social change. Now let us see the social change in context of Indian society. M.N. Srinivas, structural functionalist, gave the concept of Sanskritization based on the study of Cook Society of Mysore. Cook Society, Cook geographically isolated and undeveloped culture. Fringe community around the Cook Society was culturally associated with Cook but not structurally. Due to the non-structurally not associated with Cook Society, the fringe community started moving toward the mainland society of Karnataka and started following lifestyle of Karnataka mainland society for higher status. Based on this study, Srinivas argued that in order to move towards higher status in class, various groups follow the lifestyle of dominant caste group. He termed this process of social change as Sanskritization. Thus, according to Srinivas, Sanskritization is a process, social change in which low Hindu caste or tribal or other group change its custom, ritual, ideology and way of lifestyle in direction of higher bound caste. Generally, such process are adopted to claim a higher position in caste hierarchy. Thus, the social mobility through following lifestyle of dominant caste is Sanskritization. Here, the dominant caste group is working as a non-member reference group. Now, Sanskritization is not a structural change. It is only a group activity, only cultural change and social mobility. Now let us see what Yogendra Singh has said about Sanskritization. Is a two-dimensional process. First one is historical specific diachronic process of Sanskritization. Second, contextual, means region specific. Depending upon the region, model of Sanskritization. For example, in Gujarat, Vyas model of Sanskritization. In UP, Kshatriya model of Sanskritization. Karnataka, Brahmin model of Sanskritization, etc. So, D.N. Majumdar has talked about de-Sanskritization model. Here we can see the tribal movement and related to identity and Dalit movement also. So we can see here de-Sanskritization. Owen Lynch, what he has argued, elite emulation of model. Here he has emphasized the emulation of elite culture. Lynch argued that group which is often emulated is that of elite, not the dominant caste. Now let us see what is westernization by M.N. Srinivas. Defined by Srinivas as change brought about in Indian society and culture as a result of over 150 years of British rule. The change was at different levels like technology, institutions, ideology and values. According to Srinivas, the increase in westernization doesn't retard the process of Sanskritization, rather both go on simultaneously, and some extent increase in westernization accelerates the process of Sanskritization. He further argued that the process of westernization takes place through three levels, namely, primary westernization includes those people who came directly in contact with British. Secondary westernization includes those people who were directly benefited by those who were at a primary level. Third, tertiary westernization. It includes those people who are remotely benefited. Thus, the process of westernization is uneven and unequal among different sections of society. Thus, the process of westernization. Yogendra Singh believes that westernization has created the following development: expansion of education, urbanization and industrialization, increased network of communication. So, what Yogendra Singh has said that due to westernization in India, expansion of education has occurred, urbanization and industrialization occurred, and increased network of communication. So it's all about sociological theory of social change. Thank you very much.